What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 224 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another autobiographical graphic novel. This is Persepolis by Marjane or Marjan Satrapi. I do not know how to pronounce her name, and that's really unfortunate for me because I have taken this book as a textbook in two separate college classes. When I was in college, I actually had the first half of this book as text in my world literature class in 2008. There were two smaller volumes that collected this entire story, and I only had the first volume in my world literature class. And then the next semester in 2009, I took a graphic novel class where this entire book was one of the books that we covered. And that year, Marjan or Marjane Satrapi actually came to my university and did a lecture that lasted about an hour or an hour and a half long, and something really cool happened. She signed my book, and I'm going to show you that, but I have to find where she signed it. So anyway, it's really embarrassing for me that I don't remember how to pronounce this author's name, but it was really awesome that she came to my university. That is one of my favorite experiences from college. She got to talk about some of the stuff that was covered in this book, and she also talked about stuff that happened after this book was printed, because this only goes up to a certain point in her life. And I would say that she's now in her mid-40s or early 50s, and this only covers up to when she was in college. So there's a lot of stuff in her life that is not covered in this book, but she got to talk about some of that stuff, and that was really awesome. It was really cool that I got this signed in person. I thought that was really neat. This book is about her life when she is growing up during the Iranian Revolution. It starts off when she was a little girl, and then it covers some of her time where she was away from home, out of Iran, and then coming back to Iran and having to deal with how things were very different than they were just a few short years earlier, how she got to see some major political changes, some of which at first the book is trying to say, yeah, this is better than how it was, and then things start to go in the other direction, and then she and other people are saying, okay, this isn't very good, and that's why she had to leave the country for a little bit. We get to see her personal spin on it. This is very different from Safe Area Garage, which I talked about yesterday, where Joe Sacco put himself into that book, but it wasn't really about him. It was about all these other people that he met. This is definitely about her. This is about her experiences during the Iranian Revolution, and it's really interesting to read because you can look at a textbook and it can say in 1492 Columbus sailed the ocean blue, or anything like that. You can look at a textbook that covers something a lot more recently, and it is just going to usually give you the bare facts of whatever happened. But if you talk to somebody who was much more involved in something political that happened, you're going to get a much more personal spin on it. And that can be a good thing, or that can be a bad thing. If you don't necessarily agree with that person's political views, you may not want to talk to them about how they felt about whatever was going on. In this case, I don't feel like it has as much to do with political views as personal freedoms. At this point in this book, as she was getting older, she is starting to experience a loss of freedoms that in America we take for granted. I talked about yesterday how first world problems is kind of a thing that we tend to hold on to, and then we start to realize, hey, that's very minor whenever we look at something like this. This book shows us that if you're in America like I am, or even some of the other countries, like if you're in Canada or if you're in Great Britain, you have it pretty good. This shows us that we could have it a lot worse. But at the same time, a lot like Safe Area Garage, this shows us that her life got better. She went through some really awful stuff, but as she got older, she realized that she did have a pretty good life, and she had a loving family. And whenever she spoke to us at my university I went to, she had a pretty awesome life then, and she was talking about how she went through some stuff that wasn't fun around the time of the early 2000s, right after 9/11. She was talking about how she was the victim of a whole lot of racial profiling, where before 9/11 she would go through an airport, and she said that the guy wouldn't even bother frisking her. He said, oh, you're cute, you can go on through. But then after 9/11, she said she didn't get that anymore. And so she did go through more issues after the events of this book, but I do like that this book is able to say, yeah, life was pretty rough during the Iranian Revolution, but we also had good times. There was the secret parties that we had where we would make wine in the bathtub away from the prying eyes of the government, and that was something that they did not allow, but we would do it anyway, and we had good times. We had our family. We loved each other. So even though this shows that things were pretty rough at that time in that part of the world, it showed that there were also bright spots too. There was a silver lining to a cloud of gray, if you will. So I really like this book because not only does it show that things could be a lot worse, it also shows us, I feel like, that if you're going through a really rough patch in your life, you can find ways to make it better. You can find bright spots in the darkness of your life. If she's able to do it through the course of the Iranian Revolution, then surely the rest of us can as well. I really like this book. I highly recommend it. Maybe I'm a little biased because I got to hear her speak personally, but I really like this a lot. I think it is recommended for just about anybody. I can't think of any reason why you wouldn't want to read this, but that is my thoughts on Persepolis. I hope that you guys liked this review, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with another autobiographical story. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your day. Catch you later.